Victorian and modern poetry. Quiz 2. Identify and comment in full. O men with sisters dear, O men with mothers and wives, it's not linen you are wearing out, but human creatures' lives. Stitch, 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 in poverty, hunger, and dirt, sewing at once with a double thread, a shroud as well as a shirt. By identify and comment, it is meant that you have to provide the age to which this poem belongs. Then you have to provide or mention the name of the poet and the title of the poem. Then you have to mention the themes discussed in this part. Um, and you have to relate the poem to its context, which means that whether the poem is related to a social incident or a particular political, religious strife and something of the sort. You have to mention if there are any symbolism in this part and any figures of speech together with the musical, the importance of the musical elements and the importance of the punctuation marks and the cohesive markers such as the repetition and such everything of the sort. Of course, you have to provide a full informative answer. I think the answer shouldn't be less than 1 page by your handwriting. This is question number 1. Let's go to question number 2. But the young children, oh my brothers, do you ask them why they stand weeping sore before the bosoms of their mothers in our happy fatherland? Again, in this new extract, you have to mention the age, the name of the poet, and the title of the poem. You have to mention the theme or the themes and related to its historical context. You have to analyze any figures of speech, any musical elements, or something of the sort. Let's go to the third question. It little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and defeat and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. Again, in this question, you have to identify and comment. You have to provide, mention the age to which this poem is related. You have to mention the name of the poet and the title of the poem and the genre or the subgenre of this poem. You have to mention the themes, and there are many themes discussed in this part. You have to comment on the organization of the lines of verses, if they have any musical elements or not and why. and any references or allusions to any historical or mythological characters. And if the poet has depicted these characters in the same manner as its original authors, or if the poet has made any changes to appropriate or adapt the poem into his age and conditions. Of course, you have to mention the persona speaking in the poem and who are its addressee, and what is the name of this particular technical device. In the following question, the lines says, "Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her. But who passed without much the same smile? This grew. I gave commands. Then all smiles stopped together. There she stands, as if alive." In these lines, you have to relate the poem to its age and to provide the name and a brief biography about the poet and the title of the poem, and you have to mention the theme and the technical device used in writing this poem. You have to uncover the mystery of understanding these lines. For example, you have to mention the referent of the pronoun her, who is she, and what is meant by there she stands, what is the referent of there, um, and who is speaking, and what is the relationship between the speaker and the referent, and the speaker and the listener, and what is the topic about which they are speaking. You have to comment on the meter of the poem and the subgenre of the poem, and you have to relate the poem to its context. For example, if it's related to a political context, a social context, a historical context, you have to relate the poem to this. Let's see the following question. State the significance of the following. State the significance of the following. Number one, what is the symbol of the wall in Robert Frost's Mending Wall? Of course, you remember that Robert Frost is a white American poet who is interested in husbandry and writing about the countryside. In his poem Mending Wall, what is the symbol of the wall in his poem? Number two, the significance of the line, "A terrible beauty is born," and it has more than one significance. It has more than one significance. You have to mention at least 3 points in answering this, three detailed points in answering this question. What is meant by the terrible beauty, and what is the figure of speech um, covered in this line, and what is the function of this line in the whole poem, and what is its musical effect in the poem. Um, And how can we understand Yeats' attitude about Easter 1916 from this line of poetry? Number three, the persona of death in Emily Dickinson's Because I Couldn't Stop for Death. Emily Dickinson is a 19th century American poet who was famous for her eccentric behavior. She wrote an ambiguous poem about death. Uh, you have to write a sketch about the persona of death in her poem. Number four, what is the significance of the title Arms and the Boy in Wilfred Owen's poem? Here you have to mention what is meant by the title, the symbolic significance of the title, and what is the uh, literally allusion of the title, and you have to refer to the other writer from whom Wilfred Owen takes this title and how far he has modified this title. You have to relate the title of the poem to the genre and the theme and the historical context of the poem. This is the end of the question, but you have to listen to the general notes about answering this exam. You have to leave the first page as a cover page for your exam. You have to provide the name of the institution, then your academic year, then your full name, then the subject name and the name of the lecturer who teaches you this subject, and you have to mention the date and the kind of this exam. Whether it's a final exam, a midterm exam, a quiz, something like that. Then, starting from the second page, you have to answer these questions. You have to provide detailed answers. I assume that every question from the first three questions have to be answered in at least one page, and the last question about the significance of these lines, at least every point will be answered in about 12 lines. The pages should be numbered. You must submit your answer in your handwriting. No computer typing will be accepted. You have to write it by your hand. Submission is only next Monday. No answers will be accepted after next Monday. These all that's all, and if you have more inquiries, leave them in your comments under the videos. Wishing you all the best of luck. Thanks for watching and goodbye.